Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. In today's video, I am sharing two very simple ways to use masks with other card making supplies. To demonstrate these two techniques, I'm going to be using Simon Hurley's new masks and other card making supplies from his latest release. But you can use whatever you have in your stash and you'll come out with the same effects. For this first technique, we're going to combine masks and stencils. Sometimes masks come in a package with a stencil that coordinates, but you can also use them with separate stencils as well. These are the new stencil and mask designs by Simon Hurley Create for Ranger. They are 6x6 in size. I love that you get the masks and the stencils all in one set. So it's kind of like a 2-for-1. And you can see that these ovals are great masks for creating shapes that are either water or just a spotlight in the center of the card. So I am using the stencil portion to figure out exactly where I want that mermaid tail. Then I'm using the mask of that oval and I've taped the mermaid tail down to it because I want that mermaid tail also masked off. I'm going to put a little roll of Pixie tape behind it, and remember to really press it down. Pressure is what makes the Pixie tape stay in place, so you really have to make it stick. So the first way to use masks is to use them with stencils. So I have the mask down on the cardstock, and now I'm going to put the stencil on top. Anywhere that the mask is not going to get stenciled, which is going to leave a nice white open space for me to play with later. I am using Simon Hurley's Shooting Star ink, and I'm using Tim Holtz ink blender with the domed foam blender, and I'm going to blend that shooting star right on top of the stencil. I don't have to worry about the masked area because it's all taped off, and the stencil is taped to my glass mat, keeping it in place. Usually I also tape the cardstock to the back of the stencil, but I couldn't do that here because of the mask. But it ended up working out fine. When I peel off the stencil and the mask, you can see there's this nice white open space. I'm going to put the tail mask back in there because I want to color in that open area, but I don't want to color in the tail. If you don't use these masks and you use two different colors that blend together, you're going to get a color that maybe you didn't want. I want the tail to be pink and I want the open area to be blue. If I didn't use the masks, I'd end up with a purple tail, right? So this time I'm going to use Clear Skies all around that mermaid tail, and I'm using the stencil this time to fill in that open space but not cover up what we already stenciled on the outside. So this gives you the ability to create lots of different looks on one card pretty easily. If you just kind of think ahead and plan what you want to be what color and what layer you're going to do first, it comes out really easily. Okay, so now I pull off that mask and you can see the tail is white. So now I'm going to layer that stencil over top of that white area and I'll be able to color in just the tail. I don't want to color in anything else. This time I am using Piggyback from Simon Hurley to make that really nice pink mermaid tail. I'm not coloring pink anywhere else because I have everything taped off. Okay, this one was a little more tricky because there's not really a mask or a stencil that would help with this, although I could put the tail stencil over top. But basically, I just taped off the area. I don't want the whole tail to have scales, but I did want a few of them. So I'm using Rosy cheeks over those scales, and you can see there I've got them all set and ready to go. I'm grabbing the new Simon Hurley Pirate Party stamp set. I have a sentiment from that set that I'm going to stamp just below the tail, and there's also a stamp that is a compass. So I'm going to put that on the upper left of the images that I have there, and I'm going to stamp them both with no diving. And I did double, maybe even triple stamp it because I really wanted this to pop. I didn't want to use black ink. I really wanted to use blue, but I really wanted to make sure it did stand out on that background there. So I did use my mini Misty so I could stamp it several times. Now there's another part of the stencil that has details for the tail, and I'm going to use some Lunar paste in Prom Queen and just a small spatula to apply that in a pretty thin application so that it dries quickly. It'll still have tons of shine and a little bit of dimension too. So just carefully peel off that stencil, and that's the first way to use masks with stencils. Now let's combine masks and stamps to create a spotlight or central area on your card that you can feature your images or your sentiments. Another great way to use masks is to combine them with stamps. So today I'm going to be using Simon Hurley's Peel Apart Rubber Background stamp that's called Scaled. You can see you can remove a couple of the scales, and that allows you to stamp them in different colors or stamp a partial stamp. I'm going to use the whole stamp today. I have another one of those oval masks, and I'm going to use a little roll of Pixie tape to hold it in place on some 6x6 white cardstock. Then I'm going to use some Simon Hurley ink on the large stamp. So I'm going to cover that whole stamp with ink, and then I'm going to use my Debbie tool to get lots of nice even pressure. So you can see I did miss a spot, and then it is tough to get it right up to the mask because of that layer of tape, but I'm okay with a tiny white edge around it, and I'll show you why later. But for now, I'm just going to kind of double stamp it to get enough of that ink on there. Now I'm going to hold the stencil in place with some Pixie tape. So this is the matching stencil to that mask, and I'm going to color that in with no diving. So it really helps to have stencils and masks that work together, and then use them with stamps like this so that you can create that spotlight area in the center. Then I'm going to take a couple of the cute stamps from the Pirate Party, and this time I'm using Artix markers to color in the pirate and the little treasure chest. And I'm not doing really any shading or blending here because my background is going to be so bold. I'm not going to worry about little details like shadows and shading and blending because it's really not at the focus of this card. How cool is that background is really what the focus is. Then I'm going to do some basic fussy cutting around these images so that I can pop them up so you still can see them even on that background. Now I'm going to treat this panel with anti-static powder tool really well because ink tends to stay, even when it feels dry, it tends to stay wet for a long time, and you don't want embossing powder sticking all over your background. So lots of the Rabbit Hole Designs embossing powder tool. And then I stamped a sentiment from the Pirate Party stamp set, and I'm going to heat emboss it in with gold embossing powder and just melt that embossing powder. And it says, "I treasure our friendship," which I thought was so cute. I also did color in the little gems or coins or whatever is inside the treasure chest with some gold, metallic, and a super simple card, but you can really see the sentiment because of those masked areas. If you want to check out these supplies and Simon Hurley's latest release, just look in the YouTube description box below the video where I've linked everything for you to find it easily. If you like seeing card making tips, tricks, techniques, and new product reviews, don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe and the bell so you can be notified every single time I have a new video available. As always, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. How many times are we going to say it? It's sweaty in here, so let's just get it done. Okay? Okay. No. No. Okay.